when I finally did go and start working on the New Mutants with Chris, which came about after I turned down the X-Men. Chris came up to me in the hallway and he said, I have a 3-issue story arc. It involves Demon Bear with the New Mutants, and it's a kind of a nightmare scenario, and I think you'd be perfect for it. And I thought, it's a nightmare, it's a dream stuff, it's horror. I'm in. It was like, this is a perfect chance to explore like what being that subliminal kind of dream logic thing where things don't have to necessarily look like the way they do in an illustrated comic, and it could be abstract. So Chris and I started working on that, and it was so much fun. But that's when I started to really hear some of the response, like from Shooter, calling me into his office and reading me these letters from fans. It was like, stop him, Jim, before he kills again. They supported me, but it's they were like, I was sort of I was tolerated. After the New Mutants started to become successful, they called me up into the offices of the 11th floor and asked me if I would change my style to make it look more like consistent with the other X books. And I sort of felt that was kind of unusual, because it had started getting attention when I changed the style, and now they wanted me to kind of throw it back into anonymity, or like stop doing whatever it was that got the attention. So, but in a weird kind of way, I was just having so much fun pushing stuff and trying stuff. And Shooter and I, again, because we were both Polacks from Pennsylvania, he used to give me a lot of shit, like, you and your earth tones and muddy colors, and I'm like, but we busted each other's chops, but yet at the same time, he fought for me creatively, and it was really kind of an interesting confluence of events. I mean, editors were great, working with getting to know Frank Miller and seeing what Frank Miller was pushing with Ronin and also with the Daredevil stuff. I realized that if I had come in where my work was headed, in terms of all of my influences from art school, the things that were, I guess, innately in me in terms of the art movement that school kind of opened up. If I had come in if I had walked into the DC offices with my portfolio from New Mutants, there's no way I would have been hired. I kind of got in like through a Trojan horse, I sort of got in doing Neil Adams, which is probably at the time the most surefire way to get in. Yeah, with the New Mutants, seeing, a film adaptation or, the characters coming to life, well, one thing, it made me feel incredibly protective and parental toward all of the cast. It's like, these are my kids, don't fuck with them, do not mess with these kids. It's like, they're all great. But, and I've had this question asked about New Mutants and also about Legion. What do you think about the fact that, here we are talking about, this groundbreaking television series, or the fact that the New Mutants are being made into a film. I'm actually always stunned by rewinding it and saying, I'm surprised they even let Chris and I do it as a comic book, because at the time there was there wasn't anything like that, like the way things that we were attempting. So so the idea that we were getting heat and some, if it hadn't been for the passionate, advocates, I think we would have, gone off the rails pretty substantially. But the fact that we had so many people who were, we had people who jumped off and said, I'm out, I don't get it. And then other people who sort of said to me, and I've had this experience a lot as well, where people will come up to me at a show and they'll say, when I first saw the New Mutants, it really scared me and I hated it and I didn't understand it. But then as I got older, it's like, then it turned around. And I personally have had that experience as well. When I mentioned Neil Adams as my sort of one of my main artistic heroes and my main influence for comic work, certainly. When I first saw his work, I despised it. I was like, well, this is not Kurt Swan, But as I got older, I gradually turned around.